Evening, good people. Why are you laughing?
Because I was thinking of a theme song in my head, but it just wouldn't come out.
Up like out of nowhere.
It wouldn't come out. So I'm going to work on that. Put my producer hat on, come up with a beat.
You literally sat down and started cracking up. I'm like, what in the world is going on here?
I was in the booth. I was in the 106 Park booth in my head. I was flowing and freestyling and everything. So we'll work on that. That'll be part of our, prologue.
Lord Jesus.
We thank you for being here with us on another Thursday.
What?
Get hyped. Yo, God gave us another opportunity to be great.
Yes, indeed.
We are breathing. Inhale 2 times for the people. Love y'all. Absolutely. Welcome to the Forever in a Day show. We are Sean and Antoinette McDonald of Forever in a Day Publishing, LLC, where we focus on God, family, career, and finances. We thank you for joining us for this episode 27, Viewer's Choice.
Indeed. I'm cracking up because you see all my goods right here. On my computer. Like...
We'll work on it. We'll get it.
Anyhow.
But we thank you. Tonight is episode 27, Viewer's Choice. Be sure to catch our previous episode at FAAD LLC on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So FIT, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter business pages. All right. And Antoinette's going to open us up with a word of prayer.
Yeah, if you want to move over a little bit.
I'm here for you.
All right, Heavenly Father, thank you for this
Lord.
Beautiful Thursday, Lord. Thank you for those that have joined us in our show tonight.
Thank you, Father God.
Thank you for the message that's going to come forth.
Yes,
May
Lord.
it be edifying to everyone's spirit. Father God, we just thank you and love you for all the knowledge that you've been able to bestow upon
Yes,
us.
Father God.
We are not experts. We have not been trained, but we have this thing called life experience, Father
Yes,
God.
Lord.
We will continue to give you all the honor and glory throughout
the
this
honor,
show, Father
all the
God, and just
glory.
bless everyone who is hearing this word in
Yes,
Jesus
Lord. In
Christ's
Jesus'
holy
name.
name.
Amen.
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 We are learning like a mug. Learning.
We are learning like a mug.
Absolutely. So, again, episode 26, definitely check it out. And that was Mission Equals Action with Finances. Again, mission are those steps you take every day intentionally. So, again, if you want some good words, some good dialogue, some good chat, you can definitely check out episode 26. Mission Equals Action with Finances. So, where are we today in our focus?
Well, first and foremost, those of you who are joining right now, please make sure to always let us know that you are in the building. Let us know that you have joined us today. You are viewing this show. And if this is your first time, welcome. If someone has invited you, please let us know who invited you. And then also, this is an interactive show. So we'll be asking questions and expecting responses and interaction.
Feedback.
This is an interdependent relationship, meaning I need you, you need me, I need you, you need me, we need each other. Okay. So our focus for this episode, at the end of episode 26, we were going to do a viewer's choice.
Mm-hmm.
We asked for people to submit topics, whether it was on our email at faadpublishing@gmail.com.
That's it.
Or on the episode 26, we asked for you guys to also put in some topic suggestions.
Yes.
And so after reviewing the different topics, Dana Glassmiller, who is my cousin, she submitted a topic last week, and her topic was relationships, marriage, communication. So I was like, this is something that Sean and I have been working on for years.
Learning like a mug.
We've been together 24 years. We've been married 20 years. And the communication piece is still an area of struggle. I'm very confident and comfortable with not communicating at all. I think I do that very well.
Bless her heart.
And that's not healthy. It feels good to me because I don't have to share and I don't have to talk to anyone. But when you're in a relationship, whether it's with your family, with your spouse, at work, it doesn't matter. You need to communicate.
Absolutely.
And,
Hi, Yvette. How are you doing?
Hey, darling. Thank you again for joining.
I missed you last night.
I was going to say, me, did you help Sean out last night at the dentist? No?
She wasn't there, but it's all good. It was my first time having a 7:00 p.m. dentist appointment. So, our dentist, if you're in the Woodbridge area, we can chat about it, or you could hit us in the email, FAAD publishing@gmail.com. But yeah, been rocking with our dentist for 20 years, and Yvette is one of the best dental hygienists in the game.
The best that ever did it. For sure. And Merlana has just joined. She is straight Thelma and Louise-Antoinette from California. I believe she's in Texas right now. Are you in Texas right now? Driving. So she flew and now she's driving. I'm loving it. I can't wait until we retire to do the same thing.
We're right behind you.
So back to the episode. Miss Yvette said she's off on Tuesdays. So in regards to communication, when Dana comes on, I'm asking her to join in to the live, right? And asking to be a part of the live so that we can have some interaction with her asking specific questions. And so I think that's where God is leading our FAAD show, is just having people ask different questions and some suggestions, things like that, and just making sure that it's interactive. So with communication, it basically begins with you. Right? Communication begins with you. It begins with me. It's a personal thing. Right. So what are you going to do with it when it becomes a time when you have to have some conversations or communication with those that you love? Mm-hmm. We have 4 different things that you can do.
One of the things I just want to, again, because we are 2 different people, just like you're a different person than your spouse or your husband or your wife or your sister, brother, mother, father. So you have to recognize your individuality in the relationship. Mm-hmm. I think that's important in saying that. Antoinette says she's totally comfortable with being silent. And for a long time, I had to realize that her silence wasn't about me.
It isn't.
That's not my personality. So again, sometimes we project guilt or we endure guilt for somebody else's feeling or emotional state. So recognize your individuality in your relationship and recognize what you are responsible and able to do. So we'll chop that up. So in my relationship with Antoinette, I had to learn that her silence was okay for her. For me, I learned through therapy that I had to talk. I had to get it out. I had to say what I had to say. It might take a while to say it nicely. Yeah. And not with anger.
Or the wrong tone.
The wrong tone, sarcasm, whatever it is.
Sarcasm.
So all of those things are important in terms of communicating. Again, it's every relationship, work relationship, family, marital.
So there's 4 key things that we have embraced and we are practicing still.
Like a mug.
That we want to share with you as far as the listening goes. So the very first one is just listen to yourself. Like I said, communication begins with you. The way you communicate may possibly be part of the problem, right? So it's not necessary for you to wait for your partner to change. Guess where the change comes from? Guess where? From
internally.
From us, yes. Right? From us individually. So for example, we would like for you guys to think back to a time when you and your partner, or you and your boss, or you and your family member had a conversation, right? Just think about it. Think about how it started. Mm-hmm. Think about your reactions during it. And then what was the end? Did they, succeed?
What are you saying? Succeed?
No, when someone gives in.
Okay, yeah. So concede.
Mm-hmm. Or was it a agree to disagree type of situation? Mm-hmm. Right? The more that you think about your conversations with people, it is so important for you to then become aware of your own communication and your own communication habits. The more you think about it, the more you can improve on your communication. So listening, right, is the biggest thing. Listen. You don't have to talk all the time. You just listen. Did you ever have a time, those of you who have joined, did you ever have a time, or did you ever wish that your partner communicated more with you? So I think, have you thought that at all, that you wish that I communicated with you more?
Absolutely. You know, and I think that speaks back to wherever Antoinette's head is when she, you know, gives herself the silent treatment, because she's not giving it to me. Think about it. She's giving herself the silent treatment. Life goes on for those people who are still communicating. So I wish she would, and I take it into prayer. But again, I'm responsible for what I say and how I respond to it. No, talk to me. You got to talk to me. No.
Yeah.
She needs time if that's her way of coping or processing whatever the issue or concern is. And again, it might not have anything to do with me. So if you're in that situation where your partner, your family member might be distant, not giving you the verbal attention you're looking for, give him or her time. But I verbalize it. So my response is, you know, let me know when you're ready to talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm available for you to talk about it. Those are my responsibilities. I have to let Antoinette know I'm available for you. And if she says, I need a minute or I need some time, or I'll let you know, I got to take that for what it is. I can't look deeper into it. Like, what you mean?
I mean, we used to go at it though. Like, if I said, you know, I'm not doing this right now. Well, I learned that from Sean. I started to use it against him because Sean used to, he would always just be, you know what, Antoinette? I'm done. I ain't talking about this right now. And I'd be like, what? And he just leaves, you know, goes, sits down or whatever. And I'd be like, but I still got something to say. Like, and he'd be like, Antoinette, literally just be in the middle of my statement, like, we're not doing this right now. And so for me, it was like, oh. So it was almost at first like, did he just shut me up?
Wow.
And then as time went on, it was like, all right, where I am in my position as a wife and the way that I've seen the wife that I've wanted to become and what God had revealed that I would become in someday, I realized like, okay, so I do have to submit in this particular instance. There's no need. If Sean is not in a good space, evidently, now, I'm saying this now. Back then, I want to just knock his head off. Now, it makes sense that God is like, look, Antoinette, it's not your time. He's not in a mood for a conversation because guarantee you, if what he said, what he wanted to say at that time would have been said, you would have been upset and he wouldn't have been able to take it back. So now that I can look back at it, it's like, oh, okay. So having the power and control over yourself, like, you know what, we're not going to have that discussion right now. And I'm learning to do that. And so are our children. You know, we want them to discuss. And there's sometimes when it's just like, this is not going to work. But here goes our talking stick. We talked about a couple episodes ago, and we got to hear each other out. Or if you need a moment, you need a moment. But best believe we're going to circle back and close this loop, right? So I do ask you guys to also think about some of these questions, right? When you're in a conversation with someone, we're talking about ourselves. What are the words you're using? You know, there were times at the beginning of our relationships, the words that I used were cuss words, everything, because I couldn't find the words to communicate effectively, right? So the words that I used, I was trying to evoke a response from Sean. And what were your thoughts when I would just go, like just, and it would be stupid. It'd be like, babe, did you take anything out for dinner? What? You ain't take nothing out for dinner. And then it just, you know, cuss words out of the wazoo.
I mean, honestly, because I wasn't raised around a lot of cussing, so it was strange to me in terms of like, that's the best you could do.
Oh.
There was a feeling of sadness.
Dang.
Because again, people resort, you know, for me, my response was people resort back to what they're used to. So it wasn't going to make me a cusser. It was just like, wow, there are a lot of empty words there.
It's a lot.
It didn't make me angry. It kind of put me into a situation where, again, there's an opportunity to evolve. So I had to lead in terms of how not to use a certain language in response.
In
tone.
In volume.
In volume. Because I'm only responsible for the words that come out of my mouth. So again, goes back to our Bible. Life and death are in the power of the tongue.
True.
You know, every word that proceedeth out of the mouth. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that I kind of resorted to. Now, again, tone in terms of attitude and, you know, condescending and sarcasm, I was still working on that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, to your point, I had to listen. I had to choose my words wisely and tone without being sarcastic or condescending. even though that might not have been my intent, again, I got to consider how it's going to be received. You know, if my message is intending to be honest, then I have to work on hearing it in my head, saying it a couple times, you know, thinking about it, that empathy, which we'll get into, but thinking about, okay, how will you feel if I said this?
And and the intention behind it. What is the intention behind what you're trying to convey? Like, what is the purpose? So, true. All right. Any questions? Anybody have any type of experience with it? Just listening?
I love you too, Mom.
Is that Mom? Hey, Mommy Inez.
My mom, Inez Katzbeck, is in the building.
Hey, Cousin Jessica. Thank you guys for joining.
What's going on, Jessica? Long time no see.
So we're talking about marriage. We're actually talking about relationships in marriage in regards to communication, and talking about 4 ways that we can listen more effectively to build that communication. So I was asking if you guys have started to think about, when you've had these conversations with folks you work with, your family or your spouse, or have you done a mirror check? Have you thought about the way that you've said things, or your intentionality when you have spoken to your mate? It's very, very important that it's intentional. On a quick little side note, there was a video with some Black artists from the 70s, and they were talking about, I'll think about their names in a minute, I'll probably put the link in too, but they were talking about, as far as communication, and how Black men go to work, and they are at work and they're constantly just really submissive a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but to what's going on at work. People can walk over you at work and it's still oh yeah, you're real cool. But then when you come home, the woman gets the brunt of what happened at work. And the communication, there's a was it Sam Cooke? I can't remember, but it's a clash of communication when you get home. And it's so very important to think about yourself, and if I came home, and my wife came to me like that, how would I feel? Or if I came home and my husband came to me like that, how would I feel? So thinking about the me in the matter, and how I could be a better me in the communication.
And I think, again, please share your chat, share your experiences, because again, we're prompting with a lot of questions. And this is interactive. So continue to share out. In relationship to empathy, that's a learned skill.
Yeah.
Just like some people are tone deaf, and cannot hear the tune.
That's true.
Or the tone, or, empathy is that, what do you mean you feel? Why do you feel that way? On a psychological level, think about autism. Some people who suffer from autism or have autism, not even suffer, but have autism or are autistic, they don't have that layer of empathy that people would call regular or, typical. And that is a skill. How do you empathize? Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. It has to be intentional. And so in terms of communication, listening and feeling. Yeah. What's the intent? Where's her heart? Where's his heart? For me, and even Antoinette alluded to it in terms of being an African in America, I have to layer a lot of what I say to people with trust. Where is the level of trust in this relationship? Where is the level of vulnerability that I'm going to give in this communication, or can give in this communication? And again, that's family, friends, colleagues, in the store, at the cashier. What did you say? Oh, you threw my change? What was it? All of that communication has to be kind of thought through. So in terms of empathy, considering the intent, the emotion behind it, all of that has to be worked out.
True. I think that's a really good point. I think another great point when you talk about listening with empathy, is it your phone? Yeah. Speaking as far as speaking with empathy, is when you're in communication with someone, that you got to just really set aside your own questions, your own advice, your own criticisms, right? Because you're listening attentively with intention. So you're all in. No matter how upset you may be, you're all in. Because guess what? It's not about you right now.
Right.
So you are downloading and plugging in to your mate, like not downloading, but plugging into your mate or your boss. So you can get a full understanding before you can rebuttal, so you can have a rebuttal or a response. Because more times than not, if you're listening with empathy and you're putting yourself in their shoes while you are listening, there won't be a rebuttal. There's really no response because you're validating their experience. You're validating their thought process through the communication, right? So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to what is being said, and their words and their body language. Right. If Sean and I, we've learned in our marital counseling, body language says a lot, right? So if you're open during the communication, then that means I am allowing you to be vulnerable. Please share what's on your heart with me. But if I'm sitting there like this and I'm closed off, and that's at work too, and I'm closed off like this or whatever, then I'm not listening to you and I don't care.
I'm unavailable.
I'm unavailable to receive. There's no empathy from me.
You're bothering me.
You're adding too much to my stress level. Don't care because you don't know what I've been through. That type of selfishness happens when you communicate without empathy.
I try to go through, and this honestly is more often than not. We have voices in our heads. I'm going to believe everybody does. I know it's not just me. But I actually try to channel what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this situation? What would he have me to say or not to say in this situation? If he was the third person in this conversation, as he is in our conversations, the Holy Spirit.
He wasn't before when I was doing all the cussing.
Right. But he was with me in a way. You know what I mean? He was with me and trying to train me up. So he was like, no, Sean, go that way. Go left. Turn it down a little bit. This level of empathy helps us keep our jobs. Let's keep it real.
Yeah.
It keeps us employed. This level of empathy and good communication keeps us having a roof over our heads.
True.
It keeps that Uber driver picking you up. I mean, you put communication in a lot of different situations, and it's going to be either be a win for you, it's going to be a failure for you. So consider that in terms of, okay, do I want to be right? Or do I want to actually convey a point and a spirit of openness, a spirit of empathy? Yes.
A spirit of empathy, right? I think one of the, I keep saying I think, but I know that one of the key points here is, even though we've been married for so long, there still is reservations because you don't know, right? You really don't know. I was actually reading that. You really don't know what the other person may be thinking or how they're feeling if you don't allow yourself to be empathetic to their situation, right? So what we want to do is get to a place where we're having full-fledged conversations and communication, and we're actively listening, not thinking about our points to counter or counter
Come on now. I'm gonna win this argument.
each other. I used to do that all the time. I mean, I used to seriously get my journal like, oh yeah, wait until it's my turn. And that's stupid because I didn't even hear what he said. And half of what he said had something to do with something I had control over.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. The communication is so very important.
I was going to say, so a cliche is tit for tat. You know what I mean? Why you always got to go tit for tat? But for every tit, there's a tat, unless you change it.
Yeah. So
literally, you can't be looking like the other person, like, you know what I'm saying? Well, you always do, and you always say it to me. You have to control that. You have to say, okay, am I going tit for tat, or am I going to be that tat in this tit? Nope, I choose not to be the tit or the tat.
Well, so I'm just going to interject here.
Go ahead.
So for me, tit for tat, that phrase gets on my nerves. But this is the action behind it. So Sean will do things, say things, expect things. But as soon as someone does the same thing or expects the same from Sean, there comes this lack of empathy. So I not doing tit for tat, but will remember, babe, but you did the same thing and you expected me to be okay with it. Now that it has happened to you, how do you feel? Then it's, oh, well, it's a tit for tat. You trying to be tit for, I'm not trying to be tit for tat. It's a remembrance of, wait a minute, but he did the same thing and expected it to be okay. But as soon as it's done to him, then it's like, don't do that. Well, how about we just don't do it, period? Right? How about we just receive it as, you know what, that was wrong. I shouldn't have expected this from you. Or that was inappropriate. I shouldn't have expected you to be okay with that. So the tit for tat thing, oh my Lord, it really bothers me. It irks, that phrase irks me. But don't expect you to just, you know, as the Bible says, you know, somebody slap you on the cheek, you turn the cheek for somebody else to slap. No, I'm learning, okay?
Like a mug.
I'm learning to turn that cheek like this, but be holding something in my hand. I gotta learn to let it go and allow the cheek to be, I gotta move it like this. That's maturity. I'm not there yet. But in our relationship, it's the same. It's the same thing that I have to, like Sean said, just really gotta be like, do I want to be the tit or the tat? But it does. It hurts to be in communication with someone and they don't see where you're coming from. So the importance of the empathy and taking the time and listening is so very, very critical.
Mm-hmm.
Just be a little bit more sensitive, more compassionate, more caring in your communication with your spouse or someone you work with. So Dana is here. Dana has joined. Hey, cousin. So we had already started talking about 2 ways to listen in communication. And I don't know if you want to go ahead and push to join the live. If you go ahead and push to join to the live, we'll go ahead and have you ask some, you know, specific questions based on your topic. Congratulations. And we will move away from the script that we had for tonight's episode. So please feel free to join us. It's going to be my first time seeing it. I was able to do it on the Mayat show. So I'm hoping, because
I'm here for it. I have no idea what's going on.
I'm hoping that we're able to do it. She should just be able to join the live, and then her face will pop up and she will ask specific questions in regards to communication with any relationships or marriage. So while we're waiting on that to happen, because of course when you're recording live and then you're watching the video while you're recording, it's a little delayed. But I'm excited. Either way. Yeah. I'm
too. So, you know, as we thinking about it in terms of that vulnerability, that, okay, I'm in a relationship with this person for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You know, again, jobs, family, neighbors, etc. So just consider, again, what is going to be that impression you're left with or the person leaves you with? Just a consideration. And again, you have no more accountability, no more, control. True. Other than yourself. You know, we like to say with God, and then with yourself. Mm-hmm. Because it's your character. It's your relationship that you want to necessarily be and responsible for. Yeah. So as we think about listening safely, we're thinking about the vulnerability and putting yourself out there. I think I want people to leave me with I felt better in his company when I was in his presence. You know, he added something of value to my life. True. For a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So those are the things that kind of keep me motivated through all of my communications.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So I just added Dana. I don't see her in here yet. This is something new. You guys have been seeing us like try out so many new things through
the live chat, or is that always there?
That's new. That's an update on my Facebook.
Gotcha.
So it's adding her right now. It hasn't added her just yet.
So Antoinette's producing this episode.
I'm trying.
We're gonna see what happens. But again, add your thoughts. You know, what are those communication tools and strategies that you're using with the people in your lives? What are those things that you say, yep, this definitely worked? this didn't work.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yvette, what are some of the things that you do, whether it's at work, maybe it's a client in your business, maybe it's your beautiful daughters, your grandkids, your husband. What are some of the things that you guys talk about? And what are some of those things that you've noticed within your communication that you're just like, I'm not as effective as I really thought I was when I started this conversation. Right. Also, Jessica, with you and your beautiful husband, what are some of the things that you guys, because all couples go through a awkward phase in communication because we're two different people coming into a marriage with different expectations for one another. What about the communication that you guys have, when there is a conflict or maybe there's a need that you haven't received, right? Or isn't being met? How do you communicate that out with one another? Okay. Well, Dana cannot join us she's at work right now at the hospital, so definitely thank you for joining us still with your earbuds and everything, and we definitely appreciate you coming through and having such a great topic. Yes. So we're just gonna jump into number 3.
So I understand, hold on real quick. So if you're at work, I take it, right? All right, so you are a first responder. Thank you for your service too at the hospital, in whichever capacity you're working. So we thank you for your service.
For sure. I was about to jump into number 3, but it's 7:29 already, so I can't jump into number 3.
So I can't see. I'm like straining, like, all right.
So Yvette said when we asked her what are some of her strategies, she said she just listens. She said she knows that it's crazy, but she just tries to avoid any conflict. I respect that. Yeah. Truly. No one really wants conflict. I think that's why I'm okay with being by myself and not communicating. Like the withdrawal is so critical. I mean, I've been withdrawing the past couple of days because I've been avoiding a specific conversation with Sean. So I'm like,
I haven't had this conversation yet, so it'll be good therapy when we do have this discussion. But that goes back to, I think that's key. So Antoinette's testimony just now showed me that, one, she'll talk to me when she's ready to talk to me. And I have continued to live and communicate and go on without feeling guilty because I didn't even know.
What it is.
So again, when she's ready, we'll chop it up. So to your point, Yvette, conflict, and this is just me and my experience, but conflict it's been given such a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So conflict for me, and this is what I'm learning, like a mud, that it's
That's
just
Pittsburgh, like a mud.
It's just the problem. So it's really how you work through to solve it. So
yeah, true.
I don't like problems, agreed, but we're problem solvers. So
we're conflict resoluters.
Yes.
Resolvers.
Resoluters. We're going to put that into the Urban Dictionary.
I'm telling you, it's been a long day.
I'm a resoluter.
Okay. I mean, Sean, you're so right. With conflict in itself, like I welcome conflict at work because you can't get better without addressing the problem, right? And just addressing both sides or 3 sides of the conflict, right? And it is important. I know it's important. I do it very well at work. At home, this is my safe space, and I don't like to be in conflict at all.
One of the ways, so a strategy I'm going to offer up to address the conflict is start with a question. So a dear friend of mine and fraternity brother and a former associate superintendent in the school district where we work, I think one of his key phrases was, help me to understand. It could be a bad situation or a good situation, but how he approached the conflict or the problem is help me to understand.
Yeah.
Again, that empathizes the whole situation because it's not you messed up or, you did something wrong. It was, help me to understand why you made the decision.
Help me to understand why you did not put the toilet paper roll on the toilet. What is it called?
A roller, yes.
Yeah, like help me to understand that.
Help me to understand.
Come on, you wiped your tail, okay?
Your whole tail.
And there's nothing left on it. Like that's how I want to respond, but no, it's like Hey, he doesn't do that. I leave this little paper roll. Okay. But I'm saying,
no blame, no shame.
The
We're learning
communication
like a
is
mug.
help me to understand. Help me to
True.
understand why you open the dryer and then take the clothes out.
That was a little bit more personal. Got it. Okay.
You received that?
I received
Okay.
that. That was
Instead of just saying who opened the dryer and not take the clothes out. Like it's all about the intent.
Yes.
Cousin Jessica stated that she's been walking away when she's upset and not letting herself get too upset. You know, when we allow ourselves to go over the cliff, it's kind of hard to ask somebody, you know, to reach up to somebody and be like, can you pull me up?
Back up, please? I'm sorry.
After you done cussed them out.
I'm about to die.
Kind of hard to do that. Our neighbor, Ashley, hey Hines, shared that she's a shutdown person. She's working on it, which is, I'm telling you, that's the growth point. When you recognize it and you try, you won't get perfect overnight. You won't get better overnight. It's just, you take one step at a time and you'll see your growth. She says she's very, very cautious and careful of what she says because she recognizes that she's the emotional person in a relationship. And it just isn't received well, you know, and I totally understand and respect that. Let me see. Jessica said her husband follows her and tries to make her argue. That was me. Sean would walk away and I'm right there like, what? Oh, you ain't gonna talk to me? You don't want to talk to me? You started it and you don't want to finish it? Yeah, we went back and forth. Mom talked about Daddy Ray. She said that they had about 2 bad arguments, which they resolved no more than 2 hours afterwards.
Amen.
So that's an absolute blessing. We've had arguments, and I'm not really sure if we had like arguments where maybe we have had arguments where we was done. Like, you know what? I'm just going to part ways. I know I had one of the arguments that we did have just circled around our daughter that passed away, and I just really didn't feel like he was listening and was present and invested in the fact that we lost a daughter. Sean appeared to move on quickly after the loss of our daughter, and I wanted him to be in this solemn state like I was, and I wanted to be able to see his mourning, and I didn't see his mourning, so I was just like, he ain't invested? Oh, okay, he's not invested, and that caused a huge rift because I didn't listen. I didn't pay attention to the communication myself. And then I didn't listen with empathy. I didn't have myself open. I was guarded and protected and closed because it happened to me when it happened to us, and I didn't realize it. So, so one of the things that is huge for us. Dana also shared that she and her husband are very, very similar in conflict. They both have to get their point across. Their voices even elevate during their arguments, but she tries to apply, Proverbs 15:1, but it just doesn't always work. And that's the thing. It's like, don't be so upset with yourself if it doesn't always work, but be thankful for the opportunity to make it right later, right? So even in the moment when you're fighting and you're arguing and you're done with each other, be thankful for that moment when you are resolute and able to calm down and resolved and calm down and able to come to each other with empathy and with effective listening. And you guys are able to rebuild again. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that, again, as we're talking about learning like a mug, it's intention. I'm saying that because we'll never be perfect. Everything that I think that, where we are now 20 years later is still brand new, still evolving. And what I've done in the years past in terms of communication, I had to, divorce that. I had to divorce those bad habits. And really just adopt a passion for understanding who I'm in communication with. That empathy, that I care about the relationship this much, that's important. Because again, as individuals, it's easy to be like, I know me, I trust me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody's going to hurt me. I'm not going to hurt me. Anybody else outside of me is an enemy. All of that creates hostility. It creates those walls that sometimes are impenetrable. So I'm in relationship with Antoinette. Under God, it's Antoinette. Everything else is extra. And then I have to put those relationships into context.
Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, and I'll listen.
And he does.
And I try to.
I
try to be empathetic. I try to lead.
It makes me so mad, but it truly is empathy.
It really is.
You know, you really allow yourself to sit and listen. And Sean's like he listened. Me, I be like, especially with our kids, I be like, you really trying to justify this? I don't. It's so hard for me because that's that spectrum behavior. Like wrong is wrong and right is right, right?
You said it.
Yeah, I said it. I'm embracing it. It's hard for me to see the gray in things, right? And Sean is just like, and he'd be like, so help me to understand. And it's like, dude, don't be, what is it? What's the conflict resolution thing that you do as administrators?
Cognitive
coaching. Sean be in the whole. I'm all emotional.
Using all my strategies.
Rolling, and he asks questions, reflective questions, and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about. I'm supposed to be mad right now, but you got me thinking. I didn't think about that. So it's also about the questions, and we'll talk about that next week since we were able to go into points 3 and 4. We'll talk about the listening safely, like asking those questions that really get to the root. It's the same thing that our therapists coached us on. Our marriage therapists, our marriage psychotherapists coached us on how to go into each other's neighborhoods and ask those specific questions so that we can listen safely and be that safe person for one another. And we're going to share some of those strategies next week. But Sean, oh my gosh, I do admire that about you. Just being able to, oh geez, and we're going to talk about love language when you're communicating and and just really allowing your mate to communicate the way that fits them and it's their love language. So we'll definitely talk about that. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Let me see who else is here before we
and words of affirmation.
And words of affirmation are Sean's love languages. We will share an episode on that as well as far as love languages go. Yeah,
be
Sean
intentional.
Yeah, Sean is a good listener.
Every relationship. Or be intentional about saying, hey, you know what?
I'm good.
Yeah, our relationship has to be, at this level. It can't go past this level. If I see you in the street, we can say hi and bye, and we'll be cordial, but, we can't kick it anymore. And I've had to tell, people I used to hang out with, we're at two different spaces. You know what I mean? I'm not doing those things anymore. I'm not going those places anymore. True. So, and again, we can see each other or whatever, or if you know what I mean, we have a committee or something we're working on together. But we're not going to be out in them streets.
Yeah, we can't be out in them streets. Anyway.
Relationship, communication. Again, it could have been conflicting. It could have just been ignored. I'm not picking up those calls. I'm going to ignore it. It could have just been like, hey, where we are right now is here. And that, for me, it restored the relationship. Yeah. Because we're on we're on an honest space. Mm-hmm. So restorative practices, fierce conversations. I'm throwing out titles, as far as professional learning and or books that you can pick up. Hung by the Tongue. Thank you, Amber Montgomery, who's a colleague of mine in the division. And I was like, Hung by the Tongue, what is that? And she was like, yeah, this is a book. So she sent the book to us. So those are some things, again, we are learning like a mug. That's in my internal library, you know what I mean, where I spend some time.
And one of the pieces of literature that I found was truly instrumental in our marriage, me moving from I want to leave in this fight and flight type of mode, was The Power of a Praying Wife by Stormy O'Martin. Mm-hmm. And so Sean and I, when people get married, that is our gift. Power of a Praying Wife and Power of a Praying Husband, both by Stormy O'Martin. But it's very strategic in the prayers that are put in, the stories that go with the scriptures. And that particular book, I read over and over and over again. If you look at the previous episodes, our first 5 years of marriage, were extremely difficult for me. They were extremely difficult. Like I wanted to just leave. And where I am right now is very new to me. I like where we are right now in regards to our communication in our marriage. But earlier on, I just didn't have the model. And so I was given the power of a praying wife as a wedding gift. I have no idea who gave it to me. But I read it so much and folded it and had so much error between the pages that the pages started to fall out. So I purchased the new one and then I gave it to a colleague of mine because she needed it in her marriage. But that book really helped me to understand that it's about me. If I want my marriage to work, it's about me. I can't change Sean. I can change myself. My behaviors, the way that I communicate, the way that I admire and take care of myself, the way that I love myself. All of those things are extremely important for our marriage in order for our marriage to thrive. And it's been pretty awesome.
It's working.
It is working. So I know that we're 45 minutes in. We usually do a half an hour. We thank you guys for staying and joining with us. Next week we will continue about relationships and marriage communication. We have 2 more points that we want to make. And if you guys during that time, I don't know if you guys have ever done the enter into the live. Can you do it, or do they have to? Because I was inviting Dana into it, but she was unavailable, right? Because she's at work, understandably. But when I did it on somebody else's page, I was able to just like join their page. It was a part, and I was able to push the button. So if you could do that next week, that would be great. We would love that. You don't have me like looking at people's lives and stuff. I'm gonna keep trying just so I can understand. But yeah, just like every single week that we meet with you guys every Thursday, as you know, it is not ours to keep. We're not experts, but we have life experience. And because of our transparency, it builds trust and understanding from our viewers. You guys know we are real. Those of you who have been around us know, like, that's who Sean and Antoinette are. So we thank you for watching the Forever in a Day show with Sean and Antoinette McDonald of Forever in a Day Publishing LLC, where we focus on God, family, career, and finances. So please connect with us at FAAD LLC on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. Please send us an email. We will respond at
FAADpublishing@gmail.com.
Join us again next Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode on our FAAD LLC Facebook page. You guys have a blessed evening and a wonderful weekend.
See y'all later. Continue loving and learning like a mother.